Okay, so I think we will go ahead and get started. Maybe just quickly do the introductions, then I will go through the agenda and so on. I'm Mubarak Shah. I will be conducting this workshop, and we have Dr. Li Chuang Wang, who is the Li Chuang. Can you turn on the video? Who is the graduate coordinator of the computer science department? Yeah. So thank you. Thanks, Li Chuang, for coming. And then we have REU students from UCF. So go ahead one by one, please just say your name and which institution are you from. Then we'll introduce other people.
I'm Audrey Wiseman and I go to Wofford College, and that's it.
Okay, good.
I'm Christian Rivera and I'm from UIC in Chicago.
Okay. Yes.
I'm Callie Carter and I'm from LaTurner University in Texas.
Okay, so is your video still not working, is that right?
Yeah, I'll get it on in just a second.
Okay, go ahead, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm Tamik DeBrito from MIT.
Okay.
I'm Wei-Ning Lee from UCF.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm James Beetham, and I'm from Rutgers.
Yeah, so James is a graduate student. He's going to start in fall at UCF, but he's not a REU student. So let's start, finish that. Joe, go ahead, Joe, say something.
I'm Joe Fiercy from UCF.
Okay, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Alici. I'm from University of Nevada, Reno.
Okay, so Kali or Jenna, go ahead, Jenna.
I'm Jenna Bates. I'm from UCF.
Okay. Arushi, did she introduce Arushi?
No, I got skipped. Yeah, I'm Arushi from Illinois Tech in Chicago.
Okay, and Kali introduced herself, right? So we are done with the UCF students. Robert, yeah, Robert, did we go, everybody? Okay,
That looked like it's me.
So Daniel is here. Go ahead, Daniel, introduce yourself. Please be on time, don't be late.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Most of these meetings you are late. Okay, go ahead, Daniel, introduce yourself.
I'm Daniel Silva. I'm a senior computer science student at the University of Central Florida, also down here in Orlando.
Okay, so how about Pedro? Pedro is not here, right? Robert?
I'm trying to get in touch with them now.
Okay, so that's the UCF REU students. Then we have other REU students from other places. So please introduce yourself. We have Daniel, another Daniel. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm from the REU program at Washington State University, and my home university is University of Nebraska, Omaha.
Okay, good. So we have Luciana Domingos.
My name is Luciana Dominguez, and I come from Lehman College in New York City.
Okay, then we have Tal.
Hi, my name is Tal, and I go to Grinnell College in Iowa.
Okay, we have Terry.
Hi, my name is Terry, and I'm from Wellesley College.
So which REU site you are participating?
Right, me and Tal and I, we're from University of the Institute of Creative Technologies from USC.
USC, okay.
It's early.
Okay, good. So we are done with all the undergraduates. Then we have high school students. Go ahead, Megan. So they are participating in ARO program. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Megan, and I go to AW Dreyfus in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay, we have Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I go to Oak Grove High School in San Jose, California.
Okay, great. So then we have 2 graduate students, incoming graduate students at UCF, PhD students. So James already introduced, so he got his PS in at Rutgers. Then we have Zacchaeus. Yeah, so I have to learn your name. Yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself.
I'm Zacchaeus. I was a math physics double, and now I'm a PhD student in computer vision.
Okay,
I got my bachelor's at UCF, and now I'm back at UCF.
Zacchaeus, yeah, okay, good. So then we have Irene Tanner, who will make a presentation, who is former REU student. You will hear from her. She's NSF fellowship winner. Then we have, then we missed one of the guys, Jesa Ramries. Did we introduce him? Yes, her, sorry. Yeah, please say which university are you from?
I'm Jason Ramirez, and I'm part of the USC ICT REU, and my home university is Rollins College.
Rollins College in Florida?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's Winter Park. Okay, so then we have Ishan, who's a currently PhD student. He will also make a presentation. So, and of course we have Robert, who's a coordinator for REU. So I think we went through all of these introductions. We're still missing Pedro, but we will go ahead and get started. So let me share a screen first here. Yeah, I can just do this thing, right? So are you guys able to see the screen, Robert?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, so.
No.
Okay, wait, so where is it here? Yeah, this one, I think.
We can now.
Good. Okay, so we are going to spend this afternoon talking about why you should go to graduate school, and this is the agenda. So I will spend about an hour, a little bit less, talking about my thoughts, why you should go to graduate school. Then I will share with you a presentation from one of former NSF fellowship winner, Corey McCall, and his ideas why you should go to graduate school. Then another presentation of Enrique Ortiz, and also some fellowship, list of fellowship. I'll go through that. So then we will have at 2:30, Joy Kittredge, who is Assistant Director of UCF College of Graduate Studies. She will talk about different fellowships. You know, in the university at UCF, there's a whole college which deals with the graduate admission and fellowships and tuition waiver and all those things. So then we will have Irene Tanner, who's the former REU student from UCF here. She's this year's NSF fellowship winner. She will share with you her ideas, how you can improve your application to win this fellowship. And after that, Dr. Li Chuang Wang, who is the associate professor in computer science, and he's also graduate coordinator for computer science at UCF. He will talk about different computer science graduate program at UCF and what's the process to apply, and GTA, GRAs, and so on. Then we'll have a little break. Then after that, Ishan, who is the first year graduate student, he's finishing his first year, starts second year in fall. He will talk about how he applied for the admission and his application and how he won the fellowship from me, ORC fellowship. And then we will have another NSF fellowship winner, Rachel Sampson, who will share her ideas about how she prepared to win the fellowship. And then we'll spend time on some discussion, some question answering. And you are feel free to also ask questions during the presentation. Okay, so let's get started my part. So now, all of you are undergraduates, so you will finish your BS and you will, get a job. Now, if you get a job right after your BS, being in computer science, mostly will be programming. It'll be routine job and be kind of boring. You'll do the same thing again and again, and there may not be much chance for the growth until, unless you go through management cycle. Of course, low salary. Now, if you do PhD, then the job will be more lateral thinking, leadership. It will be hard and challenging. You can get a large salary, and of course, you'll have security of job. If you join a university in the academic position, then if you get a tenure, then you'll have job forever. And lots of chance of growth. So now, how do you apply for the graduate school? So the first step is, you have to take a GRE. Then you have to get a good letters of recommendations. And this is one chance that since you are participating in the REU program, then you will be able to get letters from the mentor faculty and give you exposure to people who will know your work and they can write letters. And then you have to write a statement of purpose, that why do you want to go to grad school, what you will do, and so on, initial ideas you have. Most important will be that you have to contact the potential advisors, the professors, read their papers, know what they are working on, so that they can, be champion of your case, because graduate school getting into depends. First, you have to get admission, and then you have to get a support. And this is decided by committees and by professors and so on. So if some professor know about you, then you will have a better chance. And you can apply for fellowships. The good thing about fellowships is that you won't be tied to work on particular project, or you won't have to do TA, like grading and so on. So fellowship will cover your research. And of course, PhD is about, publishing papers. You will publish papers, and that will become your dissertation. And so if you do PhD, then job after that, you can go to academic job, like faculty job, or you can do the industry job, or you can work in the national labs. So, and finally, you can work in startups. You can start your own startup, or you can work for startups. So, university professorship, start with right after PhD, you join as assistant professor. Then you go through what is called tenure process after 5 years. It's a very thorough process. It takes about a year, and you get a tenure, which means that you will have job forever unless you could do something stupid. And that's a big thing, being in a university environment. And that's why, historically, professors are independent. They can express anything, and they don't have to worry about they will be fired. So after the tenure, you become associate professor. Now you can stay at associate professor forever and retire, or you can go to the next stage, which is a full professor. And for that, there's no time limit, but that requires much more than when you get tenure. So they want to look at what you have done since you became associate professor. Then the next level is what is called the eminent scholar or endowed chair professor. So it's like a title. You will have professorship, and that's a big honor. And that also involves some funding money. So if it's endowed chair, so it will be endowed by some company or some family, and you will carry the name, and they will put basically money in the bank, and you will get to use the interest. You will get the interest on that. So minimum is $1 million money, but can be 3 million, 5 million. And that interest you as a holder of a chair, you will get to spend. Of course, most of it will be on your students and travel equipment and so on. You won't be able to put in your pocket, but some cases you can enhance your salary. There are different systems. You can support in summer and so on. So non-academic jobs, national labs, like Air Force Research Lab, Army Research Lab, Naval Research Lab, Pacific North National Lab, Oak Ridge Lab, JPL, EMS, Lawrence Livermore. There are many national laboratory. So they involve research, and you can work there. Or you can work industry. Now you can work in commercial industries like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, IBM, and all this. Or you can work in defense contractors like Lockheed, Harris, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics. Or you can work in startups. Okay. So now the computer vision machine learning is a hottest area these days, and if you get a PhD, so you will have big demand. You will have lots of jobs, lots of opportunities, and so on. Of course, the salaries in the university, they are not that high, but they are pretty reasonable salaries compared to other areas, and but there's a lot of freedom to work in the university. So these are salaries for last 2 years here at UCF. Now, what are the expectations of university professor? So, professor have to teach, have to supervise graduate students, undergraduate students, secure funding, write proposals, and publish papers, provide service to the research community in terms of reviewing papers and serving on editorial board, and be the leader in the field. So evaluation of professor is done, student teaching evaluation, how well you can teach. And then citation, the research, how much impact it has. So that's called the H index. We'll talk about that. And number of PhD students have graduated, and how much funding you have received. And the awards, like Fellow of Professional Society, Best Paper Awards. And then in the tenure process, we solicit letters from experts in the area all over the world. And then also how many invited talks, keynote talks, short courses have conducted, and professional service, like work as associate editor of a journal program or journal chair of a conference. Now, the most important thing is the impact of your work. And so that is, total number of citations you have. And that depends on there's one index, which is called H index, that captures a lot. And H index means that, if somebody has H index of 30, which means that author has published at least 30 papers, which are cited 30 times or more. Okay, so that one number gives you that how much impact that author has in terms of how many papers and how many papers each time has been cited. So it's different than total number of citations, because you can have one paper cited 60,000 times, then you don't have any other papers, or maybe other papers cited maximum 3 times, then your H-index will be 3. But so H-index kind of capture both the number of citations and also how many of those you have. So also it depends on where you publish. So each journal or conference has impact factor. So most prestigious conferences and journals are hard, of course. So one thing you can do is look at the Googler Scholar, and that is a good metric there where you can check out, even if you want to read a paper or if you want to check out particular author, researcher, you want to look at, how much H-index, how many papers are cited. So they'll give you a very good idea. So this is the Zesamen, and then before that was David Lowe. So as you see, 52 and 107,000, and then like that. Now we can look at one of my former student, Amir Zamir, who is a professor now in Switzerland. So this is, I think, a very good, useful thing you guys should start using. So here we go. Yeah. So, that is his H-index 25, graduated, I think a few years ago, did a postdoc at Berkeley and so on. So now, the main thing, as we have been telling you guys, for the research, because this is a research experience, so papers are very important, and that's the ultimate goal, that you want to do research and you want to publish papers. So you need papers to graduate, to get a job, to get a promotion, to get awards. So now there are some tips. First, before you publish a paper, you need to be able to read the paper. So these are the tips I have that, you want to first is you have to read a paper, research paper several times. It's not like a novel or history, just, go through that. Second thing is that, you should structure how you read a paper. So try to first get a general idea what is paper about, what's the problem being solved, what are the main steps, how can I implement the method, because computer science and computer vision. And even though I don't understand each step, but how these different steps are connected together. And then try to relate what you already know, what you are reading in the paper, some similarities, some differences that will help you understand. And it's better to, skip the related work, because every paper will have a related work, but try to understand that particular paper you are reading and don't worry about related work. And please don't try to use dictionary to look at some meaning of technical terms. And these are, more concepts than just, word by word meaning. And so try to also understand these concepts in isolation. So while you understand one thing, then you understand another thing at the beginning, not worry about integrating them. Once you understand those clearly, then you integrate them. For example, you have learned about AdaBoost, so you know what AdaBoost does. There's a library you can use and so on. Then go back and revise your understanding. Now, when you will write a paper, so paper has 4 important parts of paper, how to write a good paper. It's very important, because you can have very good work, but if your paper is not well written, it won't have impact. So first important part of the paper is title. Okay, so title says a lot, and many people will just look at a title, they'll be very excited to read the paper. On the other hand, if the title is not good, people just skip, say, don't go to it. If it's a very generic title, it doesn't say much, so then that will be a problem. Second thing, once they read the title, they want to still continue, then they will read an abstract. So abstract is also very important. And so they'll give what is the paper about. and it has to be very clear, and people have to get interested in. Then third part is introduction, and that kind of gives you the whole idea of the paper, and then the rest of paper. So one of the famous professors said that you should spend equal amount of time on these 4 things: the title, abstract, introduction, rest of the paper. So that's a lot, right? So rest of the paper, you spend as much time as deciding, coming up with the right title, right abstract, right introduction. Even though rest of paper is a main thing, there's a lot of work, but having an impactful paper, you need to keep this in mind. Now, so when you go through the introduction, it's very important to give a reader what is the problem you're solving, why it's important, what's the motivation, and what is the state of art, what's currently being done, and what is your approach, and why is it great approach, what's the novelty. So then other section, right after introduction comes related work, then this your main section, approach or your method. And in that you want to talk about detailed method, different steps and all this thing, then the results, and then the conclusion and the references. So these are the parts of the paper. And as you guys are writing reports, so you want to keep this in mind, and this will help you. So now you submit a paper to a journal or you submit a conference. Now the papers are reviewed. So in the journal review, there's no deadline. You can submit paper anytime. And once you submit, it's assigned to the associate editor, then that associate editor will assign to reviewers. And these are single blind reviews, which means reviewers will know the authors, but the authors won't know the reviewers, okay? And so after the review, then those 3 reviews, at least there has to be 3 reviews. We go to the associate editor. Associate editor can reject the paper based on the reviews because each reviewer will rank it. It can ask for minor revision or major revision. Then you can revise the paper, you can resubmit, and then final decisions made to accept or reject. So then you submit a final version, appear in the journal. And sometimes it takes time, even though it's accepted, it may take 6 months before your paper appear, but you can put on your website. Now, conference review is different. So first is there's deadline for conference, fixed, and they don't change that. And you submit a paper, is assigned to area chair, similar to associate editor. And area chair assigned to reviewers. And this is a double blind review. So the area chair or reviewers won't know the authors, and authors won't know the reviewers, okay? So as we went through this exercise, then you get a review as an author, then you rebuttal in response to reviewers' comments, then it goes back to area chairs meets physically and decide about that. And 2 area chairs have to read the paper and make a decision so that, it's a fair decision. And then you submit final paper, revised paper, and then you go to conference, present the conference, okay? So what are the good papers? Good papers are easy to follow, simple to implement, then high impact, like, big citation, as you saw, more than 50,000 citation of SIFT paper. So then the journals are, the most prestigious journal is called PAMI, IEEE Transaction on Patterns and Machine Intelligence. This is the most prestigious journal in whole IEEE. IEEE has lots of other areas like networking and power and all those other things, electronics, but this is the most prestigious journal for the whole IEEE. Computer Vision Image Understanding, International Journal of Computer Vision, Image and Vision Computing, Machine Vision Application. And computer vision conferences are CVPR, this is the most prestigious conference, very high impact rate. And this was last year held in Long Beach, and this year was held in Seattle, of course, virtual. Then ICCV, last time it was held in Seoul, and then you have ECCV, which will be held in Glasgow, Scotland, and NeurIPS in Canada. It was held in Vancouver, I think again Vancouver this year. And other conferences are AAAI and ICML and ICLAIR. So also there are these impact factor, like you have H-index, you have this H-index for the journals from the Google. Yeah, so these are the H-index of different, conferences. As I told you, CVPR is the highest, then ECCV, then, the PEMI. Now PEMI has, which is journal, which is a lower impact than conference. So which is very interesting phenomena, because in general, it's more prestigious to publish papers in a journal than conference, but conference has, a lot of big impact. So that's what is happening. Impact factor, do you guys see? So for all sciences, the National Academy, a proceeding of National Academy of Sciences is the highest impact factor. Then we have sciences, Journal of Neuroscience. Then PEMI is third, which is really impressive. So you can look at these kind of things to get an idea about where you are publishing and so on. That plays a part. Okay. So let's now go back to where we work here. Okay. Okay. So do you guys see the presentation now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so other thing is important that you have to get funding. So you need funding to support yourself in summer, to support graduate students, postdocs, to travel, and to buy a course. Because when you're teaching, when you're a professor, you would say regular course load is say 2 and 2 every semester, but you can teach less if you have research funding. Then you can buy out. That give you more time to do research. Of course, when you get promotion, you are considered for promotion, they look at how much funding you have brought in. So there are different research funding agencies, National Science Foundation, Army Research Office, Office of Naval Research, Air Force Office of Scientific Research, Department of Energy, NASA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, industry. So now also it's important to know how to write a good proposal. Sometimes it's actually harder to write a proposal than a paper. Because paper you write that you have done something and you want to explain what you have done and why it's good and so on. Proposal is you haven't done anything. You just want to talk about what you will do and how you convince reviewers to give you $1 million. So that's a much harder job. So now there's this famous person called Heilmeier. He came up with important points how to write a good proposal. And this guy was engineer, and he has received lots of awards. And he was also director of DARPA, which is a big funding agency in US for Department of Defense. And so he talk about these things. So first thing you need to know, you need to say in the proposal, what are you trying to do? Articulate your objective absolutely very clear. And how is it done today, and what are the limits of current practice? What's new in your approach, and why do you think it will be successful? And who cares? If you're successful, what difference will it make? What are the risks and payoffs? And how much will it cost? Okay, so, and how long will it take? And how will you evaluate it? So these are actually followed very religiously in some of these funding agencies, especially DARPA. You have to talk about these things. And in a way that when you apply for graduate fellowships, you're going to write proposal, and some of these things will be useful for you to keep in mind. Proposal review process, it's a peer review by NSF NIH. It's reviewed by your peers, the other professors, other researcher. And the government, the DARPA and other funding agency, that's reviewed by the government people and program managers, not necessarily, not the peers. So that's a big difference. And of course, you can write a proposal industry. So they'll depend on your personal contacts and so on, whom you know, if they really need your technology and so on. So same way, there are some open calls. You can submit proposal NSF anytime, or there are deadlines. You have to satisfy those. So I think I will end it here, and then let me go through the other things I have, because we are running out of time. We kind of started late because some people didn't show up. Okay, so let me share with you. So this was the undergraduate student, Corey. And he worked with me, several years ago. So he went to Stanford and did a PhD. So I had asked him to prepare his thoughts. This is, 2011 or something. So he won the fellowship in 2011. So so what he's saying, the PhD is a tremendous opportunity. You get to pick an advisor in any research area you like, and then you get to research in the area, receive mentoring, think deeply on problems, publish papers, become famous while paying zero tuition for 6 years and receiving a salary. So this is a quote from computer science professor at CMU. And then he said, the footnote is he forgot to mention travel. So then Corey asked me, he said, well, why don't I summarize my travels in that year to give you an idea, what are different trips I've been taking. So I visited University of Notre Dame in January, in February, UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, UC Riverside, February, Monterey, California, and February, Rome, Milan, Italy. In May, I went to Princeton, New Jersey. Then May, I went to Clemson. And then I went to Dublin, same month. Then I went to Washington for DARPA meeting. And then June, I went to Providence, Rhode Island, CVPR. June, I went to Zurich, Switzerland, give a keynote talk. July, I went to France for a PhD defense. I went to Washington in July, give a talk. Then I went to Dallas, give a talk at Texas Instruments. September, I went to UCLA. In October, I went to Florence, Italy for ECCV conference. In December, I went to Hong Kong, Singapore, Islamabad, Pakistan, and so on. So there's a lot of travel, and most of these travels are covered by the grants or invited talks covered by those universities and so on. So that's kind of very important part of the, being in the university, being a researcher, that you get to network with different smart people and get to see their university, their groups, and so on. So, so thought on graduate school, why? So character of traits of potential graduate students, you love to discover through research, you connect well with your professors, you love to teach others, you don't care if the problem doesn't have a solution. Then saying graduation already, then character traits of the potential industry worker, you are eager to redeem your degree for a good job, you simply enjoy coding, you are burned out. So, you make a decision where you are. to decide if you want to go to grade school or not. So then he's saying, no, mom, not that kind of doctor. So it's not a physician. Engineering grade school is not like medical, law, MBA school. Emphasis on discovery, research, not learning classes. Grade students typically get paid tuition and adequate living stipend. So there's another quote from CMU professor in Robotics Institute. They are smart but naive. You have to be careful not to tell them that the things we are expecting them to do are impossible. So I think that's important observation. And as you know, these meetings I've been having with you guys the weekly. So I try to push you, challenge you. And some of these are very hard problems, but these are the young minds. So you can explore and, you never know, you discover something which is, breakthrough. So, so that's a challenge you want to accept. And on thoughts on grade school, how do I get in? So what's important? Important research and statement of purpose. Does it fit? GPA, letters of recommendation, and teaching or work experience, and GRE scores. Where do I apply? So start with the US News ranking, then browse the lab websites. Ask your advisor. The best school do not have the lowest acceptance ratio. When do I start? Start preparing summer before. How many schools? As many as you have time for. Don't rush the applications. So word on fellowships, apply for them. And the fellowship are golden ticket into a top ranked school. If you are at qualified, you are more attractive than the next student that will cost them 40K. So what happened that if you have fellowship, your chances of getting into top school increases drastically. If you win school that rejected, waitlisted, you will come back and they will call, and they actually called him. So he got in, applied at Stanford and for PhD, but he got in master's program. They did not admit him PhD. Once he got a fellowship, and as a fellowship, they call him and say, well, we admit you for PhD because they don't have to pay him. And so this NSF fellowship is available for US citizen, and it's quite much money, and acceptance is not that low, and you will hear a lot about that. Okay, so how did I get in? He had a honors and major thesis at UCF. You can do that as undergraduate. 2 conference presentation, 2 first author papers, and teaching and leadership experience, letters from research advisors, average GPA, and below average GRE. Actually, GRE was not very high, but he got NSF fellowships. So he applied to Georgia Tech, UCF, CMU, Stanford, and for the NSF fellowship, and these fellowships, and then CMU, Robotic Institute. And these are the acceptance rate, and but he got in at Stanford. So these are the kind of other resources which you can use, and I'll send you all these, the PDF of those. So that is, I think we can stop here before we go to next presentation. So do you guys have any questions, any comments so far? No question? So maybe I can cover couple other things which I don't have time. Then we will go to the next one, Irene. Okay, so let's do that. So, so this is the another student, Enrique, and he also won the fellowship. Yeah, okay. So say find a fellowship buddy, make a time, do your homework, visit university fellowship office, and narrow your focus and know your audience, you know, the proposal you're going to write for the fellowship. And recommendation letters are important. So this about a buddy, make a time, just so you need to start early, make a schedule, calendar, spreadsheet, you know, be organized, just right. You should do your homework, find fellowship you are eligible for. Not all of them have some requirements. Find what exactly they are looking for. And you will hear a lot about this, what are for NSF fellowship. So intellectual merit, broader impacts, and you know, all these essays. And you will hear about this a lot because they keep updating, so we'll know more. So university fellowship, I think, has lots of information, and every university has, and they have experience. They can give you previous examples or submission, some resources, and you have to narrow your focus. Find a project area to focus on. It's not necessary that you will be stuck with that you will work on that, but at least you have a story to tell. Check the existing literature, make sure you have a hypothesis, know your audience, you know, write clearly. Reader isn't the expert in the field because they recruit these reviewers. They are in different areas, you know. Format appropriately, use figures and graphics, and recommendation letters are important. Start early, have a backup. If you don't get the first time, you should try next year. And these are different links, which I will send you this copy also, you can look for, and they also help you a lot. These are pretty nice things. Okay, so I think we are, you know, at 2 o'clock. So we will go to Irene now.
Okay, so I'm Irene. I'll be talking about my experience with the NSF GRFP. So I'll be going over who I am, some information about the program, and my advice to you on applying. So about me, I just graduated from UCF. I will be a PhD student in computer engineering in the fall. And I will be doing my research on artificial intelligence and healthcare. So I graduated with a bachelor's in computer science here with a minor in cognitive science. Like Dr. Shaw said earlier, I was an REU student 2 years ago. That's everyone in the top picture. That was my group. My project was on deep learning for military target classification. And I was lucky enough that I was able to write a paper on that and present it at a conference, SPIE, which you can see in the bottom right. And I've also done other research in medical image analysis with the pancreas and visceral fat. And my goal in the future is to do something with health informatics at the NIH. So I am a recipient of the NSF GRFP. What does that mean? It's just a graduate research fellowship that's funded through the National Science Foundation. It's a 5-year program. It consists of 3 years of funding or tenure. So with that, you can take classes full-time, you can do research, as long as you are considered a full-time student at your institution. And then there's also 2 years of reserve in the program, which basically means you don't get funding for those 2 years, but they give you that time so you can take part in exclusive internships and study abroad opportunities through that program. So it sounds fancy. Why should you apply? It is pretty prestigious. The acceptance rate is about 16%. And it does pay quite a bit as far as PhDs go. So you would get $34,000 yearly, plus you get a cost of education funding. The stipend is given in monthly payments, so it breaks down to about $2,800 per month. And the cost of education covers tuition, and any leftover money can be used for other academic expenses, like if you need a computer, if you need to travel to a conference, if you need to print a poster, really anything like that, that money is there for you. UCF gives $12,000 per year. So if you take classes full time, you would have more than enough money left over after tuition is being paid to spend on more academic expenses. And the NSF GRFP also gives you a lot of flexibility in graduate school because you don't have to worry about getting funding from the university. So when you apply to a PhD program, you have to worry about somehow obtaining a TA or an RA-ship. So you have to worry about being a teaching assistant or research assistantship. But with this fellowship, you have your own money. So you don't have to worry about working for the university. And since you're coming in with your own money, you can really work with whoever you want and you can do whatever research you're interested in. So the application is all online. The application is usually due in October, but the specific date is based on the field that you're in. So computer science and engineering was October 22nd. Physical science is like October 23rd, but they'll give more information about that when the application opens up in fall. You can apply as a senior when you're an undergrad, but you can also apply as a first or a second year graduate student, but you can only apply a maximum of 2 times. So just keep that in mind. But I highly recommend starting as an undergraduate senior. So to apply, there's 2 main essays. One is a personal background and future goal statement, which is about 3 pages. And you'll have another essay that is on graduate research plan. Both of these are broken down into 2 main sections, which are intellectual merit and broader impacts, because National Science Foundation is all about broader impacts of research. So really with these 2 essays, you're trying to explain who you are, why you want to do research, how you got into research. And then with the graduate research plan, you want to propose a feasible research plan that you would want to conduct as a graduate student. It doesn't have to be something that you actually end up doing, but it has to be relevant to the field that you're applying to and relevant to something that you've done in the past, so it shows that you have experience with what you're doing. You'll also need 3 letters of recommendation for the application, an unofficial transcript, as well as a proposed field of study in a graduate institution. There's a lot of different fields of study in computer science and engineering. That's like the broad topic. And then there's like subtopics within computer science and engineering. There's like bioinformatics, robotics, machine learning, and things like that. And then you can choose whichever graduate institution you want. There are a few caveats to the program though. If you do decide that you don't want to study what you applied in, you cannot change your primary field of study within the first year. You'd have to change it once you complete your first fellowship year. So for example, if you wanted to study health instead of computer science, you wouldn't be able to change that until after you complete your first year of graduate school. You also can't combine this with other national grants or fellowships. So for example, if you got another fellowship through the National Institutes of Health, you could only use one of those, not both. And you would have to pursue either a PhD or a research-based master's with the fellowship. So my advice to you, just to give you some background on how I got the fellowship, I did research for about 2.5 years. I did the REU. I had a paper that resulted from my REU experience. I also participated in the Honors Undergraduate Thesis program at UCF. I won a scholarship through that. And then I was also a research assistant to Dr. Bogchi in the CRCV for about 2 years. And through him, I had 3 publications, and I won quite a few awards for my work. And then I had 3 strong reference letters from my faculty mentors. I was also involved a lot on campus. I was a peer mentor for a few clubs. I was also a member of the Student Undergraduate Research Council. So I really helped people get involved in research. And then I was also involved in a few clubs. I'm plugging the Artificial Intelligence Club at UCF. You should definitely check it out. We teach stuff about artificial intelligence and computer vision and things like that. So I was involved in that, and then I was also involved in ACMW. So I was quite a well-rounded candidate. And so when you apply, you will get feedback from your application from each individual reviewer. They'll examine the intellectual merit as well as the broader impacts, and they'll give specific comments. So you can see here, they like that I had several research experiences. I took a graduate level computer vision course my senior year. And they also talked about how my research that I want to do builds on previous work that I've done. So it shows that I know what I'm doing. And they also like that I set clear goals in my essays. And I also had strong letters that confirmed my enthusiasm for my work. And then for broader impacts, they'll also evaluate that. They like that I was in clubs, I had leadership. I was very specific in my writing on what exactly I've done. And I also talked a lot about the broader impacts of my research, which they also liked. And then they'll also give an overall summary of what they liked about your essays. And you can see here, they liked that I was very passionate about my work and enthusiastic about what I was doing. So my advice to you, if you would like to apply, I highly recommend it. To have a strong application, definitely read past winners' essays with the feedback. If you Google NSF winners, you'll be able to see essays as well as the feedback. So you'll be able to see which essays were successful and why. Get help with writing from the University Writing Center, faculty members, friends, people like that, because you'll definitely need several sets of eyes looking at your essays. And then just to be a strong applicant, get involved on campus, whether you become a peer mentor, you join a club, you participate in some sort of research activity, you volunteer somewhere, things like that. And again, get started with research. I know you're doing the REU now, but if you are interested in this type of research, definitely continue by becoming an undergraduate research assistant or doing other REUs or other research internships. And be passionate about what you do, because the reviewers of your essays will know who's passionate and who actually cares about their work, and they're really interested in people who are very enthusiastic about research. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah, this is very nice. Thank you, Irene. So yeah, please ask any question. Don't be just shy. Who wants to start first?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you talk louder, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, come closer to your microphone. Yeah.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like here where I am, like where I'm at school, I work for a startup company that does a lot of like research kind of work, but it's not like, I guess, not like a research assistant. So how would you think would be a good way to like promote that in an application for something like this, along with research I'm doing like in the REU program?
Yeah, so in your essays, you can just talk about specific research projects you've worked on. Really, any research experience that you have is a huge plus. It doesn't matter if it's in industry or academia. You can talk about specific projects that you've worked on.
Yeah, I will agree with that. So see, that will bring a uniqueness in you, that you are working in a startup. So startup, always fight for patent, or they get some more investment from the investors, and some kind of things you can mention. So see, in all these things, you have to, kind of appear like unique. So this will, if everybody is doing research and REU and so on, then they have to distinguish, well, which one is good, because 80% of them will reject it. But they see, well, oh, there's this guy, he's working in startup company. It was, few people, now it has grown, and he has contributed, he has very different experience. But that actually will be positive. So you just have to be able to express what you've done. Okay? Okay, very good. So Irene, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So we will be seeing you here at UCF. So which group are you going to work for your PhD?
I'm going to be working with Dr. Mahalanobis.
Okay.
So I'll still be in the CV lab.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the thing I want to go through here. So let's first go through the list of fellowships. So there's a lot of material. Again, let me make sure that it's being shared. About different fellowship. Do you guys see now fellowship information?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there is a lot of documentation, you can leverage. So this is one presentation. Is a bit old, but it gives you an idea. So how do I should be able to do this thing. Okay, anyway, I think why it's not doing that. Okay, so let's, that's fine. So you already hear about NSF fellowship. Okay, you will hear a lot about that. Then there's other fellowship called National Defense Science and Engineering Graduate Fellowships, and they have different deadlines and so on. So again, as I told you, that I will send you all these presentations, so you will have the hard copies. And then there's a Department of Energy Computational Science Graduate Fellowship. There's a Link Foundation Fellowship. It's actually maintained here at IST. And these amounts are listed for each one of those. There's a NASA Graduate Student Resource Program, Researcher Program. There is a Ford Foundation Diversity Fellowship. And it's about $20,000 per year, this much for tuition. NASA Harriet Jenkins Pre-Doctoral Fellowship Program. There's a Department of Defense Smart Fellowship. There is Anita Borg Fellowship. These are for female students. There is this fellowship from UCF, National Academy of Sciences Fellowship. So University of Illinois, they have a website, nice information about these different fellowship. And there are many other fellowships, AT&T and so on. Some may have changed, there may be some more, but the point is there's IBM Minority Fellowships and Sandia Lab and ONR Graduate Fellowship, DOD and Hertz Foundation. Some of them are small, but whichever fellowship you can apply, you should apply, but do a good job. It's always good to put on your resume that you got fellowship. Some are, fully funded, but just even few thousand, will be very good, will help you to to get, in your resume, this kind of thing. So then there was other thing which I skimmed through in Enrique's presentation. So let me see. Are you able to see this right now? The applying for a fellowship by Enrique. You are not able to see it.
We can see it.
Okay, good. So maybe I can just repeat that one here. So I went through this quickly. So there was a nice here thing at the end. Let me show you those, which are also very good resources. Okay, sorry. Let's go through what happened. Not really. Here we go. Okay, so this is one very good. So this is basically, now let me see if you're not able to see this one, this website, right? So this goes to the, yeah, this one. So this is one link which talk about the Graduate Research Fellowship Program. You will get to know that. So that's one thing. And then let's go to the other one here. Somehow this keeps changing. I don't know what's going on here. So let's, maybe I have to do this again, I think. Okay, let's hope this is the same. Okay, do you guys see now how to win graduate fellowship?
Yes.
Do you see that?
We do.
Okay, so this is also, what is this thing? Continue reading, please create account. So I don't know. I thought earlier I was able to see this. So this is another link. And then maybe here. Okay. So then there's a couple more. The problem with Zoom is it's difficult. Okay, are you able to see this? The personal statement, another graduate research fellowship personal statement. This is another resource, you know. They talk about how you can write these things. This is another very useful link. Okay, so I'll send you all these so you will have access to these. Then let me go one more. So we go here. So this Jennifer Wang, NSF Graduate Fellowship Advice. Do you guys see that?
We do.
On the website called Jennifer Wang? No?
We do.
Oh, okay, good. So advice from PASS Award and HM recipient and forums and all this information is there. So the main thing is that there is lot of information which is available, which you can utilize. So can you guys turn on the video? So let's, you know, spend some time before the next presentation, which is at 3 o'clock. So we have a lot of time. So let's turn on the video and let's have some talk. I'll just pick some people to, you know, ask them what do you think. Arushi, do you have any questions? What do you think so far?
I think these were really good resources on seeing what they're looking for in fellowships and also like when you're applying to graduate school. So there were a lot of things that stood out to me, especially the writing aspect.
Okay, Pedro, you have any question? What do you think so far? Can you turn on the video? Yeah, good. I think your audio, yeah, go ahead. Now it's on.
Everything has been pretty straightforward.
What?
Everything has been pretty straightforward. I don't have any questions.
Okay. So how about Emily?
I think it's really interesting, and I don't have any questions either, though.
Yeah, Christian, you have any comment or anything was not clear so far?
I mean, no, everything's pretty clear. I think especially it was really interesting hearing about fellowships and what kinds of, like the kinds of benefits that they offer and like what opportunities are available.
Yeah, so Tamik, you want to say something?
I don't really have any questions. I guess the main thing I learned, I didn't completely know about like the existence of fellowship, so that's like a good thing to be aware of. It's like also like the general information. I guess this was from earlier, but like the general information about like how like graduate school stuff works, like to get an idea of what it might be like, or like what's like steps farther in the future might be. That was good to know.
So you want to become professor or you will work for industry?
I am feeling more like academia stuff right now, but I don't know. I guess I still have to like figure out how I'm feeling about like the different directions.
So Matthew, what about you?
I kind of had a general question. So would you recommend like going straight to grad school after undergrad or working in industry for like a year or two? Because I know some people do that.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's very difficult to answer. It will depend on each individual. So one way is that while you have been in school, 4 years in the college, you were in high school, and it'll be a good idea. You can get some exposure of real world life, work for a company, and then after a couple of years you can come back. But the drawback of that is that many people, once they start working full time, they are used to 9 to 5, and they get married and have family and start watching football and buy a boat, and then it's very difficult to go to graduate school because graduate school need lots of dedication and concentration, and so some people still do that, but not they change mind. Many people, they think I'll come back and say, well, oh no, I don't want to do it. So it varies depending on So advantage of going right after finishing BS is that you are fresh, you have taken the courses, as Irene was mentioning, that she took graduate level courses when she was undergraduate, so already are exposed to typically what happened at UCF, that you can take a BS plus MS, so you can spend extra year, you can get a master's, so you can take your courses for, I think 3 or 5 courses would certify for both undergraduate, courses. You took those courses, graduate level courses as an undergraduate, you get a credit for both BS and MS. So then it's continuation of work you are doing. So that's the advantage. But the other side is that while you're, taking 4 or 5 courses every semester, undergraduate, a lot of things, and you're tired and you want to change, so you want to go work for a company. So some people also do like a part-time PhD, a part-time master's. Some employees they cover your tuition, and you can take part-time courses and be in touch. That's another possibility. So all these things depend on you, what will be convenient for you, what you like. But that's very important question.
Okay, thank you.
So Audrey, you have any question?
I don't have any questions. It was very helpful to see like all the specifics and details that go into applying for grad school and what that involves, and it was helpful to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kali, you want to say something?
I don't really have any questions either, but the presentation about, I think, Riley.
Yeah, I think you're cutting your connection.
Her name already, but about just how. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. I see.
Yeah. Okay. It was just really interesting hearing the. What?
Okay, very good. Thank you. So about the high school students, we already asked him, I think, before. Who else wants to have a question? Joe, you have any question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Besides having like your research area of interest, how important is like where you go to grad school?
Which research area you want to work on and which graduate school to go?
Well, yeah, so besides like just having your research area of interest, how important is like specifically what school you go to?
Yeah, that's I think good question. So see, in general, I mean, the way the Western world is built upon, that there are top universities, right? They are ranked and so on. So in general, you want to go to top school if you can get in, because pedigree means a lot. If you are graduate from good school, even in the bachelor's, then that helps you getting good job and good promotion and so on. So that is one, criteria that you want to be able to do the go to top school, but then there are some limitations that you want to maybe stay in certain area, so it's your family is here and so on. So it will be different issues you have to decide and support. If you want to work with some particular professor, then all those things play a part. Okay, so now we have Joy, who's assistant director from the College of Graduate Studies at UCF. And
hello.
Hi, Joy. Good to seeing you after a long time. Huh?
Yes, thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, sure. So she will make a presentation about different fellowships. And so Joy, go ahead. Are you able to share the screen?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see if we can get to. All right, can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, well, like I said, thank you for having me here today. My name is Joy Kittredge. I'm with the College of Graduate Studies in the Graduate Funding Department here at UCF. So today I was asked to come here and speak to you all about graduate funding in general, but As an example of a graduate fellowship, what you've heard about is the NSF GRFP, the Graduate Research Fellowship. I'll be using that, kind of walking through the details of that fellowship, and then I'll also talk about specific UCF funding and some other awards and resources as well. It looks like Dr. Shaw already shared a bunch of great resources, so hopefully I won't be too repetitive, but sometimes it's good to hear this information multiple times while you're seeking it out. So again, thank you. The first thing I want to start off today is just in general talking about what is a graduate research fellowship or a graduate fellowship. As you're probably familiar with, it's a prestigious award that provides stipend, tuition assistance, and valuable opportunities. So as you're already in this kind of group here, you're networking, meeting other students. That would be the same if you were a graduate research fellow, whether it's a UCF fellowship, an NSF GRFP fellowship, or many of the other awards that are available to you. So we're just quickly going to look at, again, some of the other details of this. Most of these graduate research fellowships are reserved for STEM education students, which I'm assuming most of you are in the computer science field, so you qualify, within the STEM category. Typically, in order to receive a graduate research fellowship, you do have to be graduate degree seeking. So there are some opportunities where you can get certificates and further your education that way. But in order to receive funding, you want to make sure you're in a master's or a PhD program, you're graduate degree seeking, and you're enrolling full time. Most awards are going to require that because they want you to focus on that education, on the research that you're doing. So when do you apply for these awards and where? You apply early using your admission applications usually, or for external fellowships, you'd be applying directly to that fellowship organization. So I'll talk, when I bring up UCF fellowships, I'll talk specifically about how your admission application is used as your fellowship application for our university awards. And then finally, how do you receive one of these? You just have to either apply or seek out information on how to be nominated for some of these that we're going to talk about today. So moving on, as I mentioned, we're going to use the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship as a main example, kind of walking you through the various benefits of a fellowship as well as the application process and components. So the first thing you need to know, and I've probably already figured out, is that if you're part of a group of fellows, typically these are highly prestigious awards. So they're looking for students that have, academic merit. They have proved themselves either through research experience, GPA, or test scores, and they're looking for students that will end up making a change in their field. So for the NSF GRFP particularly, they're supporting outstanding graduate students in STEM disciplines, and we'll go through the different disciplines. It does provide a 3-year annual stipend. The award is for 5 years, and they do what they call tenure status and reserve status. So sometimes students will receive, let's say, a university fellowship the first year of their graduate program, and also receive an NSF fellowship. What you could do, for instance, at UCF is accept that university fellowship in the first year while you're on reserve status with NSF, and then the following year, and for the next 3 years, be on active tenure status for your NSF GRFP, receive your annual stipend of $34,000 a year and $12,000 in cost of education allowance. So it's important to know that this is a 5-year award, but the funding aspect, the tuition support, is only provided for 3 years. Additionally, students that are part of the Graduate Research Fellowship program through NSF are eligible for additional opportunities for internships or study abroad through GROW and GRIP, and I'll mention what those programs are. In order to be eligible for the NSF GRFP, and a lot of awards that we're going to look at today, you do have to be a citizen, national, or permanent resident. We're looking for new early graduate students, so senior undergrads and early career graduate students. When you're looking at these requirements, if you've already earned a master's degree, which I think most of you are probably in the undergraduate category, but if so, make sure you're clearly looking at those requirements. Again, pursuing a research-based master's or PhD degree, and intend to enroll full-time in an eligible field of study. You'll see a note at the bottom here that talks about the NSF GRF program solicitation. What this is each year, NSF puts out this solicitation with all the eligibility guidelines and all the information related to the GRFP. I looked for the updated one, but I think they said that it'd be updated on the website soon, and the application will be opening soon as well. So we'll talk about deadlines later. But it's important to know that that's the official document that you need to review before you're applying for this award. The NSF fields of study. There are many here focused on STEM, but again, computer science is included in that area. You'll find that many of our students here at UCF right now, we have quite a few NSF fellows that are in engineering. So we have a aerospace engineering NSF fellow. I believe she's just finished her program. And we have a few more in the, I believe, in the mechanical engineering. So if you're in any of these fields of study, you would qualify for this award. Some features that are important to point out with the GRFP that's different from particular like university fellowships would be that these are a bit more flexible and portable. So what that means is you have the choice of your project. So what your research plan is that you'll end up submitting with your application is your project, but you can be flexible with that as long as you're staying in the guidelines of the fellowship. You're also flexible to have your advisor and your program. As you saw, there are many disciplines that are included within the eligible fields of study. The nice thing about the GRFP is that you apply and the award would be awarded to you as a student and is not connected to any particular US institution. So you can go to any accredited US institution that you were accepted at and be awarded that NSF GRFP. So again, it's awarded to that individual and there's no service requirement. So you'll see some awards that I'll mention later require that you have performed service or employment with, let's say, the Department of Defense after you've completed your education. The one particular interesting thing at UCF that we allow for is for students to use the remaining cost of education allowance for research-related expenses and travel. So as I mentioned, each year that you're active, you receive $12,000 of cost of education, which first goes towards the cost of your tuition and fees. When you're active on the GRFP at UCF, you would receive this allowance, but you would also receive the in-state tuition rate, meaning that it's approximately for 9 credit hours, which is full-time enrollment in the fall and spring. It's about $2,600 for tuition. Then in addition to fees, it's about $3,000. So in essence, you'll have a good portion of that money left over to use to travel to professional conferences. We've had students use it to purchase research equipment, such as laptops and the peripherals, and also students that have been working on, with research, they're able to purchase research materials in order to help them with that. So that's one unique feature for UCF GRFP. The application components, specifically for this fellowship, you'll submit everything through the GRFP module online. There is a section, of course, where you fill out, your relevant personal information. And then in addition to that, you'll be including these documents listed. So the first one is your personal relevant background and future goal statement. They're going to be very particular about what they want to include in this statement. So all those resources that Dr. Shaw mentioned are going to elaborate on what should be included in there. And we'll talk a bit about academic merit and broader impact as well. Your graduate research plan statement is another document, 2 pages long. So there might be questions about what are the difference between these. Your graduate research plan statement should focus on that research plan, while your personal statement and your future goals statement are going to be a balance between professional and personal. So you want to explain, they're really looking for students, again, as I said, to make a broader impact in their field of study. So what have you done in the past? What experiences have led you to where you are that will relate to those future goals, and how will this fellowship help you get there? You'll also be required to have at least 3 letters of reference. This information is included in the online application, and then after that, the recommenders are contacted through NSF GRFP, and they upload their letters of recommendation there. I'll give some more specifics on those letters of recommendation in the next slides. You'll also upload electronic transcripts. As you saw before, the NSF GRFP website has many pages about the application and the components and the recommendations. You want to make sure you're reading through all of these for the specific details, because it'll be important to follow their exact guidelines, or else your application may not be considered. So before we talk a little bit more about the letters of recommendation, I want to focus on NSF's merit review criteria. So when you're applying to graduate school or graduate fellowships in general, you really need to focus on how you will, as an individual, use the funding that you're receiving and the education that you're receiving to further whatever your future goals are that can have a great impact on society and your field of study. So the two categories that they look at that they want to be found in all aspects of your application is evidence of intellectual merit and broader impact. So on the website, there are specific questions that you can review and take a look at to help you answer these. And again, you should include this in all areas of your application. So it's important to note that in your personal statement. You can talk about any research experiences you've had. So for intellectual merit, you want, let's say you've had an undergraduate research opportunity working in a lab with a faculty member, and that faculty member has offered to write you a letter of recommendation. You can talk about your research experience as part of that intellectual merit. Your faculty member should bring that up as well in their letter of recommendation, which can talk about, again, your intellectual merit. So you're finding that your letters of recommendation should really serve as a support to all of the other application components. They want to know what your potential is to advance knowledge. So one way, of course, that they do that is going to be your grades and your GPA, any awards that you've received, and test scores. So probably what you'll find is that as we're moving more and more towards holistic approaches, research experience, your potential, and some of those qualitative factors are going to have just as much as an impact as the quantitative grades, test scores, and things like that. So it's important to be well-rounded in those areas. Just having a 4.0 GPA is not going to guarantee an award if you don't have any research experience or strong letters of recommendation. So that's the first aspect that you want to make sure that you're working on as an undergraduate, that you can then explain that to these fellowship committees. In addition to that is your broader impact. So what they're talking about is your potential impact as an individual on the society, and then as well as your research. So what that means is, why is your research important, particularly to society in general or your field of study? And what can you do as an individual? What past experiences have you had or education have you had that's going to allow you to have that impact on society? And then clearly explain what those benefits are. So again, I'm going to reiterate this because NSF does many times, but evidence of both should be included in all parts of your application. They even particularly say that you should include headings for intellectual merit and broader impacts in your statements. As I mentioned, the reference letters, you put the information into the application system and they'll send out notices to the recommenders. So of course you want to, create those relationships with faculty mentors in advance so that you can then ask them for recommendation letters prior to entering their information. You can enter up to 5 recommenders, and the top 3 that you rank are chosen for your review. So when you're entering them, you rank which ones, 1 through 5, based on the top priority. It's your responsibility as a student to make sure that these are submitted on time and to make sure that faculty have them in by the deadline. That's very specific. So what I would recommend is ask your faculty to submit them well in advance of the deadline so that you don't have to worry about whether your application will meet the minimum requirements. I did see that NSF GRFP have stated that they will continue to monitor, they will review your application, but my guess is that someone with only 2 letters of recommendation is not going to be as strong of application for a program that's highly competitive, that awards, a very small percentage of the total applicants. ask your reference writers to discuss how you meet the merit review criteria. So they should be supporting what you're saying in your statements. So that's another important point, is to share your statements, whether they're rough drafts, share them with your colleagues, but particularly with your reference writers, so that you can make sure they're supporting what you are explaining in your statements. And make sure that you're selecting reference writers that can really provide you with a strong recommendation. You want someone who knows you not just as the student who sits at the front of class, but the student who visits them in the office and discusses their future career goals, who have discussed their academic aspirations, and someone who's really kind of a support system for you that can include the strong support in their letters of recommendation. The NSF GRFP deadlines, as I mentioned, in late July, early August is when the application is supposed to open. I did check yesterday and it has not opened yet, but it should be soon. You'll have a few months before the applications are due. So you'll see late October. This will be based on your specific discipline or field of study. So make sure you check the website for the specific deadline. They are already listed there. I would recommend submitting it well in advance of the deadline again, so you can make sure your recommendation letters are there. You have no, difficulties submitting it online, no internet outages, things like that. By October 30th, your recommenders should have all of their letters submitted. And then early April is when students are notified whether they have received the award or not. If you are awarded the NSF GRFP, that's when you get to, the deadline to accept would be by May 1st, and you indicate what institution that you're declaring at that point. So again, this is coming up pretty quickly, but you do have a few months of preparation if this is something that you're looking at for this year. Or if not, then you have time to work on some of those areas that we've talked about that would make you more competitive before you apply. Some suggestions for preparing a competitive application. Again, all those recommendations from Dr. Shaw and the links and resources, especially from students that have gone through this process before, are going to be highly valuable to you. But as I've mentioned, start early and make sure you're reading everything, the frequently asked questions, and you're following all of the directions. You want to be sure, one thing that I saw on their website is to make sure you're describing your honors, your presentations, and publications clearly for reviewers. It's important to note that the individuals reviewing your fellowship application may not be from your discipline. So that means you need to use language that's clear, concise, and that will, really show what you've done and accomplished for someone that may not be in your field. So be careful about using certain terms that are specific to your discipline and things like that. Again, we talked about the reference letter writers, making sure that, it's your responsibility to make sure that they're in on time. Your statements should be interesting and clear. Now, I mentioned the clear thing. The interesting might be something that's you might find hard to do, but I think if you consider it first when you're talking about your research plan and your personal statement, maybe as a good practice, it's to kind of just talk about it amongst yourself or a friend or colleague first, so you can get out some ideas and brainstorm before you start jotting things down. Make sure you talk with your colleagues, your other students, faculty within your program now or prospective programs, and ask about suggestions when it comes to statements and ask them to review them. You may have resources at your institutions as well that will help you with this. As I mentioned, the merit review criteria is very important, so pay particular attention to that. Look through all their frequently asked questions and make sure you're responding to the questions that they suggest that you should be responding to in your statements. Make sure you share these application materials, the personal statement and the research plan, even your CV or resume with your reference letter writers. So again, they can support that and provide evidence kind of as a confirmation that these are things that you have done or are working on. And make sure all of those materials meet that requirement. All right, so let's say you are awarded the NSF GRFP, you're currently studying in your PhD program or your master's program, and you have an opportunity to perhaps go to another country and work on your research project or enhance some professional skills. So the GROW, which is the Graduate Research Opportunities Worldwide, is available to current NSF GRFP fellows. We did have one student that went to Denmark, I believe it was last year, and she continued to do some of her research over there. She was over there for almost a full semester, was awarded an additional $5,000, which is through the institution from NSF that we then assisted with her purchases. So it was a great experience for her. She said she had a great time, met some great colleagues that she's now able to include in her network. So the international travel allowance that she received was $5,000. She submitted a budget in order to apply for this experience, and then once was awarded, we again assisted her with this for a semester. So this would be something that you could do, as I mentioned, during a term of the reserve year when you're not receiving funding. This could be a way to have this kind of study abroad experience through NSF. The GROW partner countries, as indicated on their website. I do have some links here today for these specific websites. One thing I'll note is that it seems that some of the information is like from a year or two ago, but I think it's just because it hasn't changed. So just make sure you're monitoring that as you're looking at these opportunities. But they're very specific about these were the particular countries that they partner with, and they will not go beyond these countries. So they have something already officially set up. But again, this would be a great experience if you have colleagues or networks, or maybe your faculty mentor can connect you with someone to have this experience during your studies. Another opportunity I mentioned was the GRIP program, Graduate Research Internship Program. So it's similar to GROW, but this is more of kind of a formalized internship with specific federal agencies. So again, on the GRIP website, there are just a few agencies that they work with where you get to participate in collaborative research, under other research mentors at these national laboratories. So it's a way for you to get experience probably to other equipment, research materials, professional skills and networks that can prepare you for a career in industry as well. So for those of you that are considering, getting your PhD or master's, but then going into industry, this could be a good way to get experience while you're also earning your degree. So I'll share this presentation with Dr. Shaw afterwards, so you'll have access to these links and resources. But most of these, I'm sure you could Google and find as well, but these are the specific page, in particular that second bullet there, the frequently asked questions is helpful, and additional resources. They have some presentations as well on the NSF website that I've found and kind of included some of that information in here that's also very helpful. But I know I didn't want to take up too much of your time today, so they have a lot more details on their website too. All right, so one other fellowship that I'm going to highlight before I kind of just explain a few more that are available to you is the DOE Computational Science Graduate Fellowship. So again, you're seeing another award that could be for up to 4 years. This one has a yearly stipend of $38,000. I believe they just increased that. Payment of full tuition and fees during the appointment period. Again, you're seeing at any accredited U.S. institution. One thing to note is that this award does require renewal each year. But it also provides a 12-week practicum experience at one of the DOE national laboratories or sites. So it's again, for those of you that might be interested in kind of seeing an aspect of industry, if you're not sure yet what you're interested in going into. Eligibility is for undergraduate seniors, new graduate students that are not yet started or in their first year. When I looked at their website, there were a lot of stipulations, kind of exceptions, if you might say. So if you're interested in this fellowship, then look at their website to make sure that you qualify. And again, multiple fields of study, but computer science is included along with some other engineering and physics. So you'll apply online. So as you're seeing here, there's a theme of new graduate students or first-year graduate students in STEM disciplines, working on research, master's or PhD degrees, applying online through these organization websites. So instead of going through every detail of every fellowship, we have a few more here that we like to point out. And again, I'll share this presentation with Dr. Shaw so that you all have it. Again, you're going to see very similar requirements, pursuing a research degree, submitting personal statements, reference letters, making sure you're maintaining progress in your degree, and, performing well at the undergraduate level prior to applying for these awards. So just like with the NSF, where they're looking for that intellectual merit and your broader impact, I would say that that advice is good to include, maybe not those particular terms, but good to include in any of your fellowship applications. Some of these you'll see, like for instance, the first award is the SMART Scholarship. You'll see it says for service program. What that means is that a service requirement would be required for you after completion of the degree and the award. So typically that could be 1 to 2 years working for the DoD in a particular area. And then you would complete that service requirement and be done. And you could continue on in the field or move on to other opportunities. So these again are just a small fraction of what's out there. There's also the American Association of University Women. They provide some postdocs, some, pre-postdoc opportunities and research opportunities. And we have a lot of this information on our website, which I believe I've included some more links to. So my first focus of this presentation was more on the external fellowships, using the NSF GRFP as an example, again, as a major research fellowship that you could then use to model after, all those other opportunities that you want to apply for. One suggestion I have is to create a spreadsheet, list out all the fellowships that you qualify for, and have each column for, let's say, application deadline, application requirements, as a personal statement required, as letters of reference required. That way you can really track those opportunities and not miss an application deadline, and make sure that you're getting everything done that you can before you have to apply for those awards. So next I want to talk about UCF fellowships. 1 second here. I'm really sorry, just give me 1 minute. I'm gonna go grab my laptop charger just to make sure. I believe I have enough battery, but just 1 minute, thank you.
Okay. Hey, Lee Chong, so we are running a little late. Is it okay? Lee Chong, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we'll be running a few minutes late. Is that fine with you?
Yes. Yeah. So should I present now?
No, I mean, I think she's not finished yet. She has battery going down. So
Okay.
due to her, that we will run a few minutes late.
Okay. Yeah, let me. So it's my time.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thanks. No problem.
Sorry about that. I should just have just a few more minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Joy.
Okay, thank you. All right, so when it comes to the university fellowships that are specific to UCF, we do have on our website, our graduate funding website, the list of fellowships. Most of them are going to require a nomination from your program. So that means your admission application is your application for the fellowship. You want to make sure you're submitting a complete admission application by January 15th. That's for that following fall semester of that year. So if you're interested in fall 2021, you'd submit your application by January 15th unless your program has an earlier deadline. Again, most of our fellowships are going to require full-time enrollment in eligible programs. Some additional funding resources are a few databases that we like to point out. There's one called Pivot and another called Grapes that's through UCLA, but it's available to all students. So we have a link here to our external funding website that has links to these databases as well as some of those other awards that I mentioned today. So that concludes the official presentation part. I can be available for questions. If not, then you can reach me at gradfellowship@ucf.edu. And again, I'll include that in the presentation. But I know I'm kind of running a little bit over time, so I'm not sure if we have time for questions right now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joy. It was very nice
Okay.
presentation. So yeah, do you guys have any questions from Joy? Anything you want to ask her? Yes,
I just want
Daniel.
to ask.
Yes.
So what hap-
Daniel, you go first, then Jessia. Yeah.
So what happens if you are accepted in a school and you get like a full funding package from the school, and then you also get the fellowship? Is that just extra money on top, or?
So in most cases, you can't combine major like university award with, let's say, the NSF GRFP. But what you could do is for the first 2 years, declare reserve on the NSF GRFP and accept, let's say, like our trustees doctoral fellowship. And so you'd receive that university fellowship for 2 years. Then you would forfeit the university funding to accept the funding through NSF for the next 3 years, if that's what you want, if you had 5-year program.
Yeah, so that's actually a good question. So other thing you can do is you can be as a GTA or GRA, because see, the fellowship is not a job. It's just you're getting the money. So you can work as a GTA, so that will give you additional money, or a GRA, and we have done this, and that way actually you can have a double like income. And but as Joy is saying, you cannot have 2 fellowships
Right.
at the same time. So that's actually a good question. Sometimes we do that, that students who are on fellowship, we can additionally employ them as a GRA. So they will have to work on 20 hours per week for some project, or they will do 20 hours per week GTA for grading and so on. Okay, so there was another question by Jesse. Yeah, please go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if these slides were going to be available to look back at for future reference.
Yes, yeah, we'll send you. So Robert has all your contacts. So we will send to our REU participant and high school participant, and also whoever attended this workshop, we'll send you guys. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's end it here. So Joy, again, thank you very much. So
thank you.
Send me your presentation, then I'll share with them. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Bye. So the next is Dr. Li Chuang Wang, and Li Chuang, go ahead, please share your screen. So Dr. Wang is associate professor in computer science. His area of research is distributed computing and AI and machine learning. So, but he's also as a graduate coordinator. So in the departments or university, some of us have to do some, administrative things. So, people can be a department chair or a dean and so on, and also coordinator. So part of his time is spent on the graduate programs, admission, assigning GTAs and all those things. So Li Chuang will talk about computer science program. Okay, all yours, Li Chuang.
Okay, can everybody hear me and see my share screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's begin. Yeah, as Dr. Shah introduced, my name is Li Chuang Wang, and right now I'm the grad coordinator. So here, the first slides introduce the whole department. Maybe somebody know, maybe most people don't know, and it's a computer science PhD program in UCF. It's the first one in the whole state of Florida. That means, we are the oldest computer science PhD program in Florida. And our PhD program always ranking very high in the whole nation. So based on the latest CS ranking, and our program is ranked the 51st in the whole nation, whole United States. In our department, and we have near to 40 faculty members. In those faculty members, and we have 3 National Academy of Engineering Fellows. That includes some joint positions, and 6 attribute fellow, 1 ACM fellow. Some people are in retired faculty. So in our young faculty, and we have 9 NSF career awards and 3 Air Force Young Investigator awards. Yeah, so that's pretty, and nation famous awards and for young faculty, okay, based on their research achievement. Okay, I think yeah, many people know, and UCF, our department is very famous for the undergraduate context. So our team in the cyber security and programming context, we won many awards, a bunch of awards in each year. So that's a whole highlights about our department. Regards the graduate issues, and so Dr. Gary Levins is a chair, I'm the coordinator, and Jenny is a staff for all kinds of application and paperwork and management issue. So most of the paperwork will be done by Jenny. So, but if you have any questions, you are welcome to contact me or contact Jenny, and we will try our best to answer your questions in details. So in the whole department, and we have a bunch of graduate programs. We have a very big PhD program. Right now, we have around 180 PhD students. So besides the computer science PhD program, and recently we have another joint PhD program called Big Data Analytics, together with the Department of Statistics in UCF. For the master program, we have a bunch of master programs. If you are, you're already UCF students, you are the undergrad student, please consider accelerated BS to MS program. So this program allows you to take 4 graduate level courses during your undergrad studies. And we have 3 more master programs. They are computer science, digital forensics, and data analytics. We have 3 new master program planned ahead. So Dr. Shah maybe already introduced to you, and we will have a master program in computer vision, and another master program, the FunTech, is together with the School of Business. And so the cybersecurity and privacy is also in processing. The computer science department has many kind of areas. We have faculty work on many different research areas, which almost cover all computer science research. So here I list the major research area our faculty works on. Next, I will introduce a little more details. So as you are the REU student, and then in the summer you are work on the computer vision, computer vision and AI program. And as you know, so our department is very famous for the research of the computer vision and image processing. Okay, especially computer vision, and Dr. Malak Shah is directing the computer vision research center, and there are a bunch of other faculty members work in the computer vision centers. So each year, and they have many publications in this area, and very famous in the nation or even in the worldwide. So some other research area related to computer vision. Oh, what happened? Sorry, jump to the next slides. All right. So another related. Oh, what happened to this? Okay. Sorry, it's jump myself. Okay. Another area, machine learning and AI. So we also have a bunch of faculty members work on machine learning and AI, so that they are closely related to computer vision. And so we have a few faculty members work. Oh, apologize. I don't know why it's jump to the 2 slides. So the HCI, virtual reality, and graphics. Okay, so we have a few faculty members work on the HCI, virtual reality, and computer graphics. And so, yeah, so those areas, as I mentioned, and yeah, we have very good faculty, and so each year, and so those faculty will also recruit a bunch of students in those areas, and yeah, so bioinformatics and system biology, database. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and so it's some faculty involved in a cluster in UCF for the system biology. Database and data analytics, theory, algorithm, and networking, and mobile computing. Oh, why? It's just sorry, network and mobile computing, and yeah, here we list a bunch of areas. And if you are interested, and please go ahead to our website and take a look at the website. And we have more detailed introduction to each of the research area and to each of faculty members. Okay. Next, I will share some application details if you are interested in UCF. Okay, so as we mentioned before, we have master program, we have PhD program, and for all those programs, we require the GPA should be 3 or more. Of course, for PhD, and we prefer even higher GPA, but 3.0, that's a minimum requirement. And for GRE, so the GRE, right now, the UCF require all students apply for the PhD program, take GRE before. So, but this year is a little special because the coronavirus crisis, and right now, we temporarily waive the GRE for master applications just for the coming spring and fall applications. However, for the PhD program, and we still require GRE, but okay, you may take the GRE after join UCF in the first semester because UCF require, that's the whole UCF require the all PhD program, all PhD students took GRE before. Okay, so make it more clearer. And if you want to apply for a master program, okay, so right now, we are considering waive GRE just temporarily for the coming semesters. And for the PhD program, however, if you take GRE, that's fine. If you don't take a GRE, but you need to do that in the first semester. Okay, so we give you more options for GRE. But of course, we recommend, if possible, because here, all students, in our, the seminar, this presentation, all students are domestic students, I think. So I strongly suggest everybody take GRE before, before application. So right now, I think, the home-based GRE is possible. So you can take home-based GRE. Okay. So the minimum require, for GRE, we don't have the minimum require, but is we have the preference. So for the math and verbal, we prefer the total is more than 310 or even higher. Okay, so for any international student, TOEFL is required. That's 80 or more. So that's a minimum requirement for the admission. For master program, and totally, they are 30 credits. That means around 10 courses totally. And within the 10 courses, 2 of them are required. And for all the courses, we require, try to get a master degree from UCF, and the GPA should be more than 3. So here I mean the GPA during your graduate study. Okay, so you should have maintained 3.0 or more GPA. And for the 2 required courses should be B or better. So anyway, so that's some kind of, the detailed requirement. And after you get into the PhD program, and we will have orientation, and we will introduce more details to you. But today, just give you a rough idea. So totally, we need 10 courses. That means 30 credits. And but some people maybe you already take like 2 or 3 graduate level courses during your undergrad study. So if you already done this, and you can transfer up to, I think, 9 credits, up to 9 credits, okay, from the graduate during your undergrad study. If you take graduate courses, you can transfer up to 9 credits, okay? So that is for the master program. For the master program, we have 2 tracks or 2 options. One is non-thesis based. That's mainly take courses, 10 courses. Another option is the thesis based. The thesis based option, so also 30 credits, but within the 30 credits, you can take 6 credit hours of thesis. That means you only need to take 8 courses plus the 2 thesis, 2 semester thesis research. And finally, you'll need to write a thesis and successfully defend your thesis at the end to get a master degree. So all the other requirements similar to the non-thesis based option. So that is for the master program, okay. Master in computer science. So here is introduction about the PhD program in computer science. Okay, and for the PhD program, totally we need take 72 credits, and within the 72 credits, at least 63 is course credit. That means 12 courses. Okay, so within the 12 courses, and there are 3 courses are required. So like the computer architecture, algorithm, complexity. So for the PhD program, and besides the courses, the more important thing is research. As Dr. Shah introduced just now, and you need to publish papers with your advisor. Okay, so the total duration for PhD program roughly is around 5 years. Some, talent students, maybe, graduate early. But more people spend roughly, 5 years, maybe 6 years, really case by case, and it depends on, okay. So 5 or 6 years is also common. During the PhD study, and there are 4 milestones. Okay, so in the 4 milestone, okay, in the 4 milestone, the first one is a qualifier review. That means after you get into the PhD program, usually in the first 2 semesters, student will take courses and do research with an advisor. And after 1 year, for example, if you enter into the program in the fall, and we will do the qualifying review in the next fall, in the middle fall, the other next fall. And so for qualifying review, and we require you to take almost some courses, okay, at least like 1 or 2 required courses and some other courses. And so more important is we prefer you publish a paper with your advisor, to be qualified to continue in the PhD program. Yeah, but don't worry too much. If you fail in the first try, and usually we give students the second chance. The second chance could be happen in the next semester, like in the next spring semester, or even you can skip the spring semester and just do the qualifier review in the other fall semesters. Okay, so usually we give students 2 chances for qualifier review, and so if you cannot pass the qualifier review, so maybe you have to transfer into the master program. So right now the qualifier review, we don't have the written examination for qualifier review. Right now our qualifier review mainly is course and publication based. So after you pass the qualifier review, and then the next step is candidacy. For the candidacy, we require students to pass all coursework and have more publications. For example, we prefer students to have like 2 publications and pass all coursework. So the third milestone is proposal. Okay, the proposal means, okay, I already have a very clear idea about the research I will do. And so you will write a document and to detail your research proposals. So usually you should have like a bunch of publications, 2 or 3 publications. And for the proposal, you know this area very well, and you know what to do next. Okay, so that's for the proposal. And finally, it's defense. So after you already publish like 3 or 4 papers or even more in a top tier conference or journals, and you usually summarize all your research into a dissertation, and finally defend your dissertation. Okay, so that's a defense. That's a 4 milestone about the PhD. Of course, the PhD study is a long journey, and it's not an easy job. Okay. However, it's very rewarding. And after you get a PhD, as Dr. Shah mentioned, you can go to academia or go to industry or even national lab, and you will get a higher salary and maybe more potentials for promotions. Okay. So, but please note the difference between a master and a PhD. For master study, mainly is give you take more advanced courses, and so if you focus on some area like computer vision, and you will do lots of projects on the courses and get a better understanding about this area. For the PhD, mainly we do research, not only the course and the project. So we should do the new stuff, and develop new ideas and implement ideas and publish papers, or even in the open source code. So that's for the difference between the PhD and master programs. Some students maybe already take the graduate level courses before. Okay, and so you are allowed to transfer some credits, okay, into UCF. Okay, so if you already have take a few graduate levels before, and it will allow you to transfer up to 9 credits into UCF. And if you already have a master degree in computer science before, and we allow you to transfer 30 credits. That's mainly for PhD students. Okay, we'll allow you to transfer more credits. Okay. So yeah, that's a credit transfer. So if you decide, apply for, UCF program and get into the UCF program, and you can talk to me. We can discuss more details about how to do the credit transfer. Okay, so that's some more details, but I want to skip this. I will post these slides, and if you all want to take a look, and feel free to take a look. Okay. So I think just now we already gave the presentation about the fellowships. Okay, so UCF provide a bunch of opportunities for different fellowships, and so all the department and the faculty members also have the support about the GTA and the GRA. The difference between those support for fellowships, usually the fellowship, you're required to work with some advisor, but so you don't have the teaching job associated with the fellowship. Okay, and for the GTA is also besides give you some salary, and so you will also get a tuition waiver for GTA. And so each semester or each year, the department may have like, in the coming fall, we will have around 40 GTA positions. It depends on. So when you apply for our PhD program, and you don't need to directly apply for GTA. Okay, the GTA usually will nominate by our faculties. So that means, so when you apply for the our PhD program, and we strongly suggest you to take a look at our faculty website and choose some advisor before. You can send an email or call our faculty members and tell them your interest, and make some contact before, and so identify potential research areas. Of course, you don't need decide immediately, but we prefer you and your application, and you already indicate your research area, and hopefully you can contact some faculty members. And so because for admission, we have a committee, a grad committee. The grad committee will decide your qualification of admission. However, and the committee will also consider all faculties opinion or suggestions. For example, if you contact Dr. Shah before, and Dr. Shah may write a strong recommendation, or even Dr. Shah may talk to the grad committee and tell us, okay, so you are a very promising student, and so in this way, and we will consider to admit you. So so mainly, and so for each of admitted student, and we will give you some kind of support, GTA, GRA, or fellowship. Okay, so so these financial aid, GTA, GRA, fellowship, mainly will be determined by advisors, by our faculty members. Okay, so that's the fellowship GTA, GRA mainly will offer to only PhD students. Okay, for master students, usually we do not offer GTA or GRA. Okay, however, we have some hourly grader position available in every semesters. So those position, we offer those positions to master students. However, those position, we only pay hourly salary, but there's no tuition waivers. So depends on your experience. Roughly, we pay between $9–10 per hour for those hourly grader. So we have lots of information available online. So from the department website, and you can see our master and PhD program, and from UCF website, you can also find the catalog and have a more detailed introduction about the program, about each of courses. Okay. So during those forms, after you get into the program, and so for each semester or each PhD milestone, and maybe some forms are required. And so here's a link about those forms. And so also, on the UCF website, you can see the grad study policy. That's a general policy, and the general graduate study graduate handbooks. Okay. So yeah, please visit our website. On the website, you can see about the details of the application, admissions, and take a look at the College of Grad Study website. And if you have any kind of specific questions, and you are welcome to contact me or contact Jeannie. Okay. So right now, because the COVID-19, and many we hold office hour online. Okay, so we do not stay office too often, but you are welcome to the best way to reach me and Jeannie is send an email to us, and we will try to reply in the same day. Okay, so if anybody has questions, you are welcome to ask here.
Thank you, Li Chang. It was very nice. So before we go to question, hey, Robert, I send you an email right now.
Yes, sir.
Can you please take care of it, because Jerry needs to send out the announcement about poster session.
I'll do it.
Okay, it's okay. You can quit this right now, from workshop, and do that first. Okay, thank you. So yes, please. Any question from Dr. Wang? So this was about mainly the computer science at UCF. So especially the students, UCF students who are here and they want to say continue master's, BS plus MS program. That's one. Other is that if you want to apply for PhD, so we do have lots of opportunities for GTAs. Right now, Dr. Wang said we have about 50 plus GTAs for computer science, and we have lots of GRAs and fellowship. And also for the outside UCF students, they can also apply for PhD, and in particular, want to work in CRCV. We have fellowships, I had 8 fellowships. Actually, I didn't find enough students, so I awarded 5 this year. And this fellowship is $25,000 stipend, no tuition, and no everything covered. So actually, James and Zekakis are the 2 fellowship winners this year. They will start in the fall. So yeah, any question, anything you want to discuss? We have a lot of time. Actually, I've been running ahead of schedule. So we have next presentation we have is 4:10. So any comment, question anybody has so far? Yeah, go ahead. So do you guys understand the difference between the fellowship and GTA and GRA? If you have a choice, Audrey, what would you like to do? You want to do GTA or GRA?
That's a good question. I think I would do GTA.
Because you like teaching and you want to help out?
Yeah, I do.
And the only thing is that GTAs, it will not help you that much in research because, you have to read papers, implement, and so on. Sometimes graduate students complain that they are spending too much time. They don't have, time to do research, but it's a good experience when you become professor, then you apply. Then if you have taught course yourself as a GTA, that's an additional qualification. Okay, who else has a question?
So if you are interested in like academic job, like a professor job in the future, so maybe at least 1 semester or 1 year GTA will help you to understand what's teaching and how to perform a good teaching. It will help you to to look for a academic position.
Yeah, good point. So Daniel Silva, you have any question?
No, no particular questions. I was curious how many students will get accepted into some of the fellowships. Like for example, the NSF one, how competitive are those to get?
Yeah, as you saw some of these presentation, I think the ratio is 14% to 20% and so on. It varies from, year to year, but it's not that bad. Typically, NSF proposal acceptance at 10%. So this is, good. And as you heard that one can apply, 2 years. So if you don't get first year, you can always apply next year. We don't know statistics about the other fellowships, but similarly, I mean, it's the same thing. Like if your application is good, mostly it depends on you as compared to what are other people applying. So you have to appear unique, and which will catch the attention of the reviewers, people who will decide, and it can vary on different factors. Okay, so if we don't have any question, then let's take a break. So we'll come back at 4:10 as the schedule is, and then we will have a couple more presentation, more question discussion. So Dr. Wang, thank you very much. So can you email me this presentation, then I'll share with these guys.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, thanks to everybody. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we will get started now. So Ishan, so go ahead. You can share the screen and go through your presentation.
Yeah, yes, Dr. Shah. You can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, yes, good.
So yeah, hello everyone. I'm presenting this presentation on like how to maximize your chance to getting into a PhD program. So this is just a slide about me. I completed my first year of PhD under Dr. Shah at CRCV, and I was for my first year I got this ORCGS fellowship like by UCF. So it's just a slide about PhD. Sorry. Yeah. So PhD is actually long in-depth research exploration of one topic. So it takes a lot of time, and like the output will be like you as an expert in one particular field. So why PhD? Like because I removed this slide because other speakers already covered this. So getting started with the PhD application process. So first thing is identify your research interest. So let's say the undergraduate courses which you liked a lot, or some undergraduate projects or your internship projects like which you enjoy doing it. So these are the main 2 ways to identify your research interest. So one more thing is to find for your PhD application, find best research groups in your research interest. So in this case, like research lab is more important in rather than like university ranking. And so how to find the best research group? Okay, I'll give you a short demo. So you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here is an example for computer science students. So here, I think most of you know this website, csranking.org. So in this website, like, so you can, it's a very comprehensive like summary of all fields within computer science. Let's say artificial intelligence, computer vision, computer architecture, and many fields. So you first keep all areas off. Okay, and you just select the country, like you let's say for now it's USA, and for last 10 years, and okay, let's select the field of computer vision. Yeah, so even if you like don't believe this ranking system, it's based on the number of publication in the top tier conference. So even if you don't believe the this ranking system, it will be good to explore this website just to get the professor names, like just to know like which professors are working in the same your domain, and you can get to know about their research labs. So let's say for computer vision, these are the rankings. And so let's say you are looking into, so yeah, you can see this one thing, like in computer vision, like if you go by university ranking, MIT should come first, but in like computer vision, like Carnegie Mellon is the first one based on this website ranking. And so let's see what it shows for one particular university. So let's say in UC Berkeley. So these many professors are working in this computer vision. And these are the number of publications, like in the past 10 years, they got in the best venues. So let's just, so yeah, so let's just select one professor. Like they are given the home page, Google Scholar link, DBLP link, and like many other all necessary things. You can evaluate like one professor. So let's go to his home page. Yeah, okay. So that was one thing. I'll continue with my presentation first. Yeah, so let's say how to explore one research group's website. So you will look into, so at this point you don't know like you are interested in that research group or not. You just found it from some source like csranking.org or other websites. So let's say how to look into their website. So you look into their ongoing projects and publications, and just check their current students profile, current graduate students profile, like just to get to know, get some idea about like how hard is it to get into that particular lab. And okay, so I'll show you one example, quick example. So let's say we opened this professor's homepage, and so you can find some his lab website from, oh, just a minute, yeah. So here is the lab website. So let's say how to explore the projects. Like, so you can see some blog or publication list. So you just quickly look into all of the works. Like if you know the field really well, then you can quickly look into it. Otherwise, you just see some graphs and pictures to get idea about their ongoing projects. So there's a standard thing like all research labs put on their websites. And so that is one thing to get to know about their current works. And another thing is to, let's say we want to look at their current PhD students profile. So let's just select PhD students here. Okay, so let me open a random student's profile. So let's open their resume. And so, yeah, so let's say this guy he took admission in 2012. So let's just see like what he achieved before 2012 to get admission into UC Berkeley, this particular group. So his GPA was full, like 4 out of 4. And other things as well, you can look into it, like what he achieved before 2012. So let's say he had this scholarship, he had another scholarship before 12, he had some prize, he had some good national rank as well. So, and also some experience here as undergraduate researcher. And so he got publications as well, like before 2012. So you can know like how competitive is this UC Berkeley lab, like to get selected. So you can also contact these particular students. Like if you are lucky, then you might get reply as well regarding like if they can review your statement of purpose, or like you can also get to know about their ongoing projects if they want to let you know. Like so some like some information, like all information is not given on the website. So but you can always ask the students by contacting them on email or any other social media like Twitter or like LinkedIn. Like, yeah. So you need to spend some time on looking into their students' profile and their lab's ongoing projects. So that thing will like be really helpful in like maximizing your chance for a particular lab. And yeah, so that was one thing. And in the next slide, yeah, so let's say you looked all these things and you found the lab interesting. So then look for admission criteria. Like so there are two separate things, like you might already know. Like one is to get selected by the university committee, and then selected by the professor. So first thing is the deadline, then minimum GPA or test scores, and average GPA and test score. So these I'll give you an example, brief example, like after this slide, and required courses. And okay, so yeah. Okay, so let me give an example from the same group. Yeah, so let's say, so lab always, like all these research labs, they always give some idea like for the prospective students. So let's say here it is written how to become a PhD student here. So first is you need to apply through the admission channel. Like, so let's see this link. So yeah, so there's some checklist they've given, like some minimum criteria you should have, and some like 3 recommendation letters and GRE exam. Yeah. So this criteria is actually not we are not interested in knowing this criteria, because like minimum GPA of 3, and this they also mention like there is no cutoff on GRE score. So this thing is not the actual scenario. So we want to know like what is the average GPA, like, so that shows us the clear picture. So look into the FAQs, like people already asked these questions. So let's say yeah. Yeah, so let's say in this particular case, so their average score is like 90th percentile on quantitative, like section of the GRE, 75% on the verbal, and 3.5 on analytical writing. So these numbers, like you should keep these numbers on your mind, like because this actually matters. So yeah. So this is one thing, and you can also get to know about what is their average GPA and all other stuff. Like you should look for average numbers rather than the minimum criteria. Okay. And yeah, you also look for the required courses. Yeah, because like if you're moving from let's say you're moving from electrical department to a computer science major, so uh, you might miss many required courses, and there are higher chance like your application will be rejected. So you should avoid applying to those universities and such courses. So that one more thing you should keep in mind. And okay, let me go to the next slide. Yeah. So okay, maintain a document with all universities like you did research, like let's say 50-20 universities. So just some informations like you gathered from by looking into their website and their research group's website and like admission criteria and all things. So yeah, just make a list and maintain a document. So and then shortlist the universities, like so that depends totally on you, like how you would like to do application, like ambitiously, like you want to apply to all like competitive schools, like let's say top schools, or let's say you apply to some slightly lower ranking, like let's say rank 20 to 50 such schools, or like very safe schools, like so that you need to decide. Like so for an example, people generally make a like shortlist according to covering each category, like let's say they take universities like uh, very, let's say very high rank universities, like they take 2-3 such universities, and some lower rank university like such 2-3, and they apply to total such 10 schools. So this is how like people generally do application, like while shortlisting the universities. Yeah, so any questions till this point? Like, so then I'll move to next slides.
Yeah, any question? Anybody has any?
Okay, so I'll move to the next slides, like if there are no questions. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is that exams, like graduate record exam, it's also GRE, people call it. So there are 3 parts, like one is verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing. So a common known fact is like it's hard to get like so quantitative is basically the main section, like the universities look for, like you should get some like very competitive score on the quantitative reasoning, like let's say, and it's actually a competitive section, because let's say even if you lose 5 numbers in the quantitative reasoning, your percentile will drop by 10. But even like if you lose 5 numbers in verbal reasoning, it's not that competitive. And so in verbal, like even if you lose like 10 points, your percentile will not drop drastically. So you should take care of quantitative reasoning, then verbal. And analytical writing is basically your writing ability. So in PhD program, this committee also look for this section seriously, because you will in PhD you will write papers, so you should have like good analytical writing score. So next thing is research statement, like so it's also called statement of purpose. So these are a few points like I'll be covering in the next slides quickly. So your research focus, like so these are the things you should mention in your statement of purpose: research focused and like how did you develop interest in that particular area, your research experience, and why you feel you need a PhD, and like why a particular university and why a particular professor. So these things I will cover by giving you a good and bad example. So yeah, that's how it will be different from the previous presentations. So first thing is your research focus. Like yeah, so be specific as well as keep it little bit open-ended. Like and a bad example would be like you write like I'm interested in machine learning. So it's a very generic example, and you should add more on top of that. Like let's say I'm interested in machine learning, specifically solving data imbalance problems or like some specific kind of problems you are interested more. So be specific as well as like keep it slightly open-ended. So another thing is how did you develop interest in a particular area, or like like yeah, why are you passionate about following a particular research area? So let's say a generic example is like during my childhood, like I was fascinated by sci-fi movies like Iron Man, or people also write like I see deep learning is changing the world nowadays. And so these are some generic examples. So if you want to stand out, like you need to be little bit specific and like yeah. So let's say you should write something like during my undergraduate school, I like this XYZ subjects and I enjoyed working on the coursework projects, and like you did internship in this field. That's why like that's how you develop interest in that particular area. So yeah, so these are the difference like in the bad example and a good example. So write some facts like that it's coherent with your story, like not very generic thing. Yeah, so then your research experience. So one common mistake like people do is like they write statement of purpose like a resume. So for an example, like let's say this example, I presented a poster, like full name of the poster, and in this European conference in computer vision's first workshop. Like you should not write like this much level of detail. So write it like a story and show your learning outcomes there. So a good example would be like this, like write something, let's say this continuation of your okay, so this continuation of your this method, like our method achieves state of the art, and I got an opportunity to present to this conference, and where I made brilliant researchers, and like it kept motivating me to doing research. So this kind of sentence structure will be like a reader would like to read actually here, like because you are already submitting your one-page resume, right? So you can like you can avoid giving all level of details in a statement of purpose. That's fine. Like you can use some short terms like ECCV, or like you can avoid using the year and your paper title. Yeah. Another thing is, yeah, so why a particular university is a right place for you. And yeah, so in this, so mention a few professors like which your research interest aligns, and don't keep it very generalized. So this is a mistake people do. So let's say bad example, like so don't keep it like very open-ended. Like so let's say you are interested to work with Dr. X on infrared images, and also with Dr. Y on wireless networks, and you're also open to machine learning problem with Dr. Z. So actually all three of them will reject you based on whatever you have written here. So keep it like a little bit narrow, like your research interest, and try to be specific. And yeah, so all of these multiple professors should be working in the same domain. Like it should not be this much diverse. Yeah, and one more thing is don't be over specific. So let's say if someone writes like I'm interested in working PGD based adversarial attack using facial tattoos, so that's too specific to um, like to that's actually too specific reason to go to a university actually. So there are like higher chances like this particular project might not survive during your PhD, and like there might not be any grant for this particular project. So try to keep it like a little bit open-ended, or like it should align with the main research thrust of the lab. So let's say you should write it like I'm interested in solving a problem on adversarial attacks on biometrics. Like instead of facial tattoos, like you can use some words like biometrics, or so these are generalized uh, uh, problem rather than a specific one. Like so try using uh, so don't be over specific. That was the point. And so one more thing is write a few lines like why you are suitable candidate and like how will you contribute to the lab. So you can use some sentence like okay, so let's say if you write something, if you are claiming like this line, like you are interested in this particular problem, so you should also support that claim by using some other supporting statements. Like let's say, from my experience, so even if you wrote it like above in your research experience, you should write it explicitly in the university section. Like it will be beneficial. So let's say you should write this thing like from my experience with this particular project during my internship, I'm confident that like I can contribute to this particular problem. So write it explicitly even if you have written in your research experience. So these are some facts about statement of purpose. So it will take plenty of time, like let's say more than 1 month. So get feedbacks from your seniors, alumni, and professors. And it's an iterative process. So it might take like 5 to 10 iterations. So it's almost like writing a paper. Like you should do it iteratively. And yeah. So the next thing is recommendation letters. So it's a critical factor in selection. So whom should you ask for write a recommendation letter for you? So it's professors like from your university, internship advisors, like it can be university professor or project manager from industry. So here are some tips. So give the recommender sufficient time before the deadline. Like let's give him or give her like 1 to 2 months, like because all of the professors and like project managers are super busy. So give them some time. And it's a important point now, like maintain a positive relation with them, like work hard and impress them before the application and also after application as well. So yeah, make a good connection with your recommender first. So the next thing is some application strategy kind of. So let's say you have 4 recommenders, but you are not sure like all of them are good or not. Like you are not sure they will write very good recommendation for you or not. So, and most of the university they ask for 3 letters and maximum 4. So in such case, just submit all 4 letters to like alleviate the effect of like weak recommendation. So yeah, so it's actually a good strategy. Like whatever the maximum limit, just try to submit as many recommendations. And yeah, so I'm almost done. Like in the summary, like you are all you are in your senior year, most of you, and for high school students, like just try to get as much high GPA as you can, like because with low GPA your life will become harder. So and try to do a good research in your internship and get publication if possible. So this publication will help you in getting a strong recommendation letter as well. So this has like many benefits, publication. So and give sufficient time in to this application process and university search. It takes time, so try to start it before like 2-3 months before the application deadline. Yeah, so good luck and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ishan. That was very nice. So yeah, Tamik, go ahead, ask the question. Did you have question or you just like the presentation?
No, I meant it as like a clapping symbol.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So anybody else has questions before we go to Rachel? Rachel, sorry, we are running a little late, so I hope it's okay with you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Anybody else has question from Ishan? So Ishan, I have one question. So when you applied, like how many universities did you apply? You applied from India, is it right?
Yeah, so yeah, I applied as an international student from India. So
I see.
So I applied to 13 universities. Like so like 5 of them were like I like the most. Like CRCV was one of them. So and so like so 5 of them I considered as like ambitious to get into. Like let's say I applied to Georgia Tech, UC Berkeley, and so I applied to 5 such ambitious universities, 5 little bit lower ranking universities like let's say North Carolina State University, and like those universities are really good, but like the research groups are not that famous. So I applied to such that university and 3 very safe universities. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you select it? Like how did you know about CRCV, UCF?
Yes, so CRCV actually I was following CRCV YouTube channel from. Yeah, so I actually learned image processing and all these things in my undergraduate studies like long back, like 3-4 years back from your YouTube channel. So then I researched about the lab and yeah.
I see.
Then I came to know like it's in the top 10 of the CS ranking. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we are very glad to have you, and you have been doing a very good job. Okay, well, thank you. So, I mean, Ishan, of course, is here, and he's working with one of the REU students, so you will have a chance to talk to him again also. So let's go now to last presentation from Rachel, and she's also the NSF Fellowship winner. So Rachel, go ahead. You can share the screen.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I know it's a little late. Hopefully I'll keep it light. And I'm just going to talk briefly about some of my experiences with the NSF Fellowship. So just a brief outline of my talk. I'll tell you guys who I am, talk a little bit about the fellowship program, some of the facts about it, what the application looks like a little bit, and give some of my advice. Hopefully it doesn't overlap too much with other speakers. And then I'll talk a little bit about how having the fellowship has affected me. So first off, who am I? I'm a 4th year PhD student in optics at UCF. So optics is the study of light, and generally it has something to do with lasers.
My research specialty is specifically focused on increasing telecommunication system capacity, which in simpler terms means that I basically try and increase data speeds for phones or internet. And then to put that in more relevant terms, especially during the pandemic, I like to joke that I help the world watch more Netflix. I guess also I help the world have more Zoom meetings. That's also relevant. So I got my bachelor's in physics from Stony Brook University, which is in New York on Long Island, about an hour and a half outside of New York City. And when I was an undergrad, I also participated in REU programs. So down at the bottom is a picture of me and two of my colleagues at the University of Arizona at an REU program. And then lastly, after I graduate with my PhD, I'd like to work in industry, hopefully for a top telecom company such as AT&T or Verizon. So now I'll just talk shortly about the graduate fellowship program, some of the details. So here's the fast facts. If you walk away with nothing else, there's this slide and one other slide that I want you to remember. So basically the NSF fellowship is a stipend which covers 3 years of your PhD salary at a rate of $34,000, which is generally a little bit more than most PhD programs would offer you. So it's a competitive salary. And it also covers all of your tuition expenses. The second point is very important. There's a 15% acceptance rate. So I don't know about you guys, but when I was an undergrad, if somebody told me that I had approximately a 1 in 7 chance at $140,000, I would have taken it. So yeah, it's very high acceptance rate considering how much you can potentially gain from receiving this fellowship. And then the last point, which is pretty unique to the NSF fellowship program, is that it's very flexible. So this fellowship program specifically funds you as a student. So you can use it at any institution you want, any program, for any research and any advisor. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So a little bit about the application timing. You can apply once per year. If you're an undergrad, you can apply as a senior. And then you can also, if you take time off between undergrad and grad school, you can apply once per year until you start grad school. As a graduate student, though, you only have one chance to apply, either in your first year or the beginning of your second year. So my advice with this is definitely make sure that you apply as an undergrad because, you know, based on this past slide, if you apply as an undergrad, you get one chance, at least one chance as an undergrad, potentially more, and then you get one chance as a graduate student. If you apply as a graduate student, you only get one chance. So along with that, so you get more chances, and then along with that, you also receive feedback on your application. So here I have some of the feedback that you actually receive. So they actually write a whole paragraph about the different sections. So it's very useful. If you apply as an undergrad, you'll get advice for how to improve your application as a graduate student. And then it's also very similar to what your application will look like for graduate school. Sean just talked about what you need to do for graduate school, and I'll talk about a little bit of what the application looks like for this, but it's very similar. You have a personal statement and a research statement. Yeah. So then the application, like I said, it's very similar to grad school. You have a 3-page personal statement, a 2-page research statement, and a little bit unique to the NSF fellowship is the 2 separate criteria that you're judged upon are intellectual merit and broader impact. So intellectual merit is generally how scientifically sound is this? And then the broader impact is both in terms of your field, what's the impact that this research and yourself could have on advancing the field, but also what's the impact that you could have on the community that you're a part of. So things that could be included in your broader impact is, do you have a website where you communicate information about your research? Do you have a GitHub, for example, where you share code? Yeah. So then my advice for the personal statement, Sean said this also, don't restate your transcript. Use every part of the application as a chance to show a different side of yourself, or I guess to create a fuller picture of who you are. Then similar, frame your experiences in terms of how they made you who you are and how they shaped your goals. So this really should be unique to who you are, and then make sure, even though it seems a little bit weird, that in your personal statement, you cover both your intellectual merit and your broader impact. So for example, for broader impact, if you're part of a minority community that generally wouldn't be in your field, for myself, I'm a woman in engineering, you can talk about, how that's affected you and how you potentially plan on, and even if you don't fall into those groups, and how you plan on using your experiences to make an impact on future generations. Okay, so for the research statement, read past winners' essays. There's a certain style for the NSF fellowships that's developed that's a little bit different than other essays that you would be used to writing. So if you go to this website, they actually have probably a few hundred essays from a variety of different fields. So you can go down and find comp sci and look at the essays that were successful and weren't successful. And yeah, so use those as a template to advise how you should write your essay. Some of the characteristics that are different than you would use for most essays is use bolding and italics in your essay. It's not something we usually use, but it can really emphasize the points that are important. And these are people who are reading over, many applications in a day. So it helps if you really point out the important points to them. And use sectioning, be explicit. So for my essays, I specifically had a section that said intellectual merit and said broader impact. So they didn't have to sort of try and read between the lines. It was explicitly there where they would find the information that they were looking for. Make sure that you find a professor or a mentor, maybe even a fellow student to help you refine the essay. And then importantly, the research that you write about in your research statement, you aren't required to perform. So you're not committing when you write this essay that this is the research you have to do in graduate school. So lastly, I'll just talk a little bit about what I see as the perks of the fellowship. So the first thing is that it's a competitive stipend. In my college, which is the College of Optics and Photonics at UCF, the normal stipend is around $26,000. So $34,000 is a little bit more. It also makes you more attractive to graduate programs and advisors. So, if you come in with a fellowship, you essentially are providing your graduate program and your advisor with 3 years of a free researcher, which they generally like. And so it allows you more flexibility in choosing graduate programs and advisors, and also allows you time to make sure that you're choosing the right research advisor because you're not worried about who's going to pay your stipend. And then it also allows you to focus on classes. The third bullet point, the increased security, is something that I didn't have on this presentation last year, and I hadn't really even thought about until the pandemic came. But the NSF Fellowship has been running since 1952, and it's the oldest federal fellowship that the US offers. So there's a lot of stability in having the NSF Fellowship, and also flexibility because it's not tied to a specific program or specific research. So especially during the time when the pandemic's happening, you know, it's very comforting knowing that I have a very secure salary that also allows for a lot of flexibility. And then lastly, at UCF and probably at other institutions, so the NSF Fellowship, they give your school $12,000 a year, regardless of how much tuition costs. So if the tuition is less than that, the school has that extra money after tuition, and they can decide what to do with it. And at UCF, they give this money to the students, or they tell the students that they can use this money for educational items, like conferences, laptops, different things. So to give you, for example, my numbers at UCF, so they gave UCF in total $36,000 to cover my tuition. My tuition only ended up costing $13,000. So left over, I have almost $23,000 that I can figure out what I want to use this money for to further my education. And so far I've used it to fund going to a conference, which was a professional development conference. So it's something that probably would be difficult to receive money for through a research grant because it didn't specifically support research, but it helped me develop. People have used this money to take extra classes, to buy supercomputers. Some people have even used it to hire undergraduate researchers to help them with their research. So there's a lot of flexibility, and it's a really great resource in that you can help expand your education beyond just the PhD program. And so then lastly, this is the other slide that you should remember, is that please apply as an undergrad. It's, like I said, a 1 in 7 chance. The total value of this is around $140,000. So it's a lot of benefits that you can receive for work that's very similar to what you're already going to be doing if you're applying to graduate school. And I know it might all seem like applying for graduate school, applying to fellowships, it might seem like a lot, but it's very doable. For myself, I probably spent, you know, I completed my application over 3 weeks or something. I would advise that you spend more time working on your application, or at least spread it out more so there's more time for feedback. But yeah, it's not as daunting as it might seem. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can ask them now. And if you think of questions later, this is my email, and feel free to email me and ask me questions.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very nice presentation. So Rachel, you can email me this presentation. Okay. I will share with them. And so yeah, you guys have any questions from Rachel?
I actually have a question.
Yes, please.
So, I know that you guys said that for the scholarship, you get funded for 3 years, and then like there's 2 years where you don't get funded. Would one of those 2 years count if you sort of do a deferment, like you don't want to jump into a PhD straight after graduating your bachelor degree?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you're sort of asking if you take a gap year.
Yeah,
sort
a gap year.
Would that cover it? So my understanding, although NSF has write-ups on this, is that you cannot defer it for a year, but you can reapply the next year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that's correct. So that's what this Joy said, that let's say, you have 2 fellowships, then you can defer the NSF and get the UCF fellowship first, then go to the next 3 years for that. But I think this kind of thing is, better to ask NSF. They must have, frequently asked questions and so on. But in general, I think you have to start the year you apply graduate school, but you can postpone that because you have another fellowship, you can delay it, which is fine. But they want you to start the graduate program, the year. If you're already there, that's fine, you can continue. That's what my understanding is. But, best way is to, check with NSF guidelines, or maybe you can send an email to Joy. Probably they deal with that more frequently. Okay, any other question? Yes.
I'll just add briefly on that point. Also, in that you have 3 years active and 2 years where you're, I think they call it on tenure or something, but 2 years, it's a 5-year program and you get paid 3 of them. So you get to decide that when that year comes up. So it's also useful because say that your professor gets a research grant 1 year, you can then decide, okay, this year I'm not going to take the fellowship. So because you have that 5 years that you can use that money over, it gives you and your advisor a lot of flexibility for planning your PhD and how you're going to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's correct. That's a good point. Okay, who else has a question from Rachel? Okay, well, very good. So thank you, Rachel. It was very nice. Thank you. You did last year also. It's very good that you did. So this year, actually, we have both female. There was a new student, Irene. She made a presentation earlier. She's this year winner. So we're happy that, at UCF, we are increasing the female winners. So it's very nice. So good luck on your PhD. So just email me the presentation, and thanks again. Okay. So rest of the guys, please turn on the video. So let's, talk a little bit before we end. Is this first question, is this exhausting for you guys? So one thing you will notice that you will hear similar things from different people. And we did intentionally to make sure that you keep reminded yourself that and a different perspective, on these things. So, so we wanted to make sure that you get the bigger picture, and in a way, maybe sometimes we're repeating certain things, but there's no way to avoid. So, any general comment about this kind of workshop, or any other question we haven't discussed, because we covered the whole spectrum, that why go to graduate school and what will happen after you finish your PhD, and what kind of jobs you can get, then how to apply for your admission, how to apply for fellowships, and what are the different mechanisms to get support, GTA, GRA, fellowship. So anything else you want to discuss before we end?
I've got a question.
Yes, please.
So, kind of with what Arushi was asking, how do you strongly not recommend taking a gap year or gap semester? Is that something that isn't the best thing to do, or do you think it would be fine and just apply for things the next year around?
Yeah, so I think that, that's as I said earlier, it will depend on each individual, and the suppose I would not take it, because I want to do research, and I wanted to do PhD and continue, not really find a job. But some people may may not feel strongly like that. Also, some students have the loans, so they want to pay the loans and they want to work. But as you know that when you do your graduate school, so it's also part of the schools. You don't have to pay the loan when you are doing PhD. So you will do that after you finish. And also keep in mind that when you do BS as undergraduate, you pay the money. So, right, you pay tuition, you have to pay living expenses and all this, and your parents will pay. But for graduate school, you don't have to pay anything. Actually, you are paid. Your tuition is covered, your stipend is covered, and so on. So I think that as Ishan was saying, it depends on what you want, what you are happy with, what you like to do. So let's say you like research, you want to take challenging problems, solve the problems, and write papers, and you're happy that your papers are cited, people send you emails, and you go in a conference, meet with your role models, these famous researchers, and join reception, and visit them, and when you become a professor, or you're working in a university in an industry, you get invited to give a talk, and you serve on committees. Like I'm serving on 3 PhD dissertations, 2 from this Amsterdam, University of Amsterdam, 1 from England in Scotland. So it's a different kind of environment, and if you like that thing, then that's the way, and you should do it as soon as possible. But if you are happy that you work 9 to 5, and you have some other interests, say you like some sports, and you are some social work you want to do, help teach, tutor the kids, and there are lots of things in life, right? So then then maybe you just work and you have some money, live comfortably, and then you can do other things. So it's not easy. It depends on different what is your what you're happy with, and so on. Some people as I was saying, this Corey's presentation say, well, okay, you want to cash in now, you went to school, you want to make money. So yeah, I mean, job will be good. But if you want to, wait a few years, then finish PhD, then you can get much more money than, with the BS. So it depends on lots of things, Yeah, who else? Yes, please go ahead.
What's it like working on a PhD part-time?
Yeah, so that's also, I said earlier, so the process will take much longer, because, you're working full-time and part-time, maybe you can do masters, because masters you will have take set to 10 courses or 12 courses. You can take a couple of courses every semester at night. It's still a lot of work, but I know people have done that. And PhD involved some courses, maybe during, when you're working full time, maybe take courses first and then quit and do, full-time PhD. That's also possible. So it varies. And sometimes some companies actually give you a leave, that you can take a leave and that will count your service. And sometimes actually you can get paid. They will cover tuition and so on. So depending on different arrangements you can make. More questions? Any other thing which we did not cover? Yeah, don't be shy about this. This is your time, so please ask anything. It's not clear. Okay, so if there's no question, then let's end it here. And I hope it was useful for you guys. So we'll see you guys in the regular meetings. Okay. Okay. Thanks for all the presenters, Rachel, Sean, and other who left. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you everyone for the presentations.
Yeah, we will send you the the PDFs. Okay.